Good morning. I am the Reverend Kikanza Nuri Robbins, and we welcome you to our worship service. We are in the month of Ramadan, a time when Muslims from all over the world share in the spiritual discipline of fasting. I am a Baha'i, and many in my family are Muslim, so I'm familiar with the spiritual fast and the many ways that people approach it. I've been with people who gain weight during the month of fasting because they eat so much between sunset and sunrise. I have witnessed piety competitions among believers who boast about how much they give up during the fast. Food, sex, frivolity, I give it all up, is a chant I have often heard. This year, my 17-year-old grandnephew called his grandfather, my brother, to tell him that he was fasting this year. His first fast. My brother was astounded because he had placed no pressure on the child, and we're all proud. Now, fasting is not one of my spiritual practices. However, one year in pursuit of spiritual discipline, I spent 40 days in silence, a fasting of words, a holy silence with 50 people from 11 different countries who formed community to be in silence together. The retreat director gave us guidelines before we started our silence. He said to work on eliminating distractions so that in our silence we could draw closer to the mystery. This meant that if we really needed to talk, rather than obsessing over that need, we were to walk into the village, talk with a shopkeeper, and then come back to the retreat house and re-enter the silence. Some people thought this was a form of cheating, but from my perspective, a spiritual practice should not be a punishment, but a discipline, something that becomes easier and more meaningful for you with practice. In the silence, the goal was not talking. The goal was to move to a place of stillness so that we could listen. With my nephew, the goal is not for him to finish the fast with the adults who've done this for years. The goal is for him to start and to begin a spiritual practice that will serve him over the years. So whether you believe in a mystery called God or in the infinite vastness of a barely known universe, I think it is important to embrace something that enables you to experience the ineffable awesomeness of who you become when you connect with a community in a spiritual discipline that takes intention and lots of practice. So if you are fasting this year, Eid Mubarak, may you be blessed with the gift of spiritual nourishment. And if you are not fasting, may you engage in a practice that nourishes your soul. I light the chalice with the words of John Donahoe. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning.
فریاد من، دل خراب من، خدا خدا کنم، خدا خدا کنم. شب است و شب است و شب است و شب است و دعای من به کهکشان، ندای من به آسمان. دل 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 آه من، داد من، فریاد من، دل خراب من، خدا خدا کنم، خدا خدا کنم. شب است و دل شب است و شب است و شب است و دعای من به کهکشان. شب است و شب است و نگاه من به آسمان. آه من، داد من، فریاد من، دل 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 خدا 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 کنم.
Good morning, and welcome to the online worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. We are glad to be with you this morning. A special welcome to you if this is your first time joining our community for worship. We're glad to be with you. I'm the Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae, and this service is co-created with Worship Associate Reverend Dr. Kalendae Nuri Robbins, Director of Music Sonder Choi, Director of Religious Exploration Cleo Anderson, pianist Ryan Humphrey, and our amazing choral section leaders. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourage an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder and mystery of our lives and affirm that we are all connected to one another and to that interdependent web of all life. Our tradition arises from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience and ancient traditions. We are a welcoming community, inclusive of people of all gender identities, sexual orientations, races, ethnicities, and social locations. We invite you to join us in creating this beloved community that we share with each other and with our larger world.
Hi, have you heard about the $10,000 match? The deadline has been extended to Monday, May 4th. You still have time on this great opportunity to double the impact of your 2020 pledge. Text 844-982-0202 with the amount of your pledge and the letters PLG. I hope that our beloved community continues to connect you and engage you, and thank you for your generous support.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of Jesus. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of Jesus. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come yet again, come yet again,
Let us recite our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue.
Good morning. So, today's story is actually part of the story we heard earlier this year. So, earlier this year, we heard the story of faithful Khadijah, who was the Prophet Muhammad's wife. And we learned how Khadijah became known as faithful Khadijah, but didn't learn how Muhammad became the prophet. So around 610 AD, in the city of Mecca, Muhammad lived with his wife, Khadijah. Now, Muhammad had a regular everyday job managing Khadijah's merchant business, but he also spent a lot of time thinking and meditating and praying. You see, where they lived, there was lots of moral decay, if you will, lots of warring factions, and he wanted to know more about creation and how to bring peace and a bigger religious experience that could maybe help him make sense of the way his world was. And one of the ways that he found this time and space to think was to travel to Mount Hira in the hills outside of Mecca. And so often he would go and he would sit and meditate and pray all alone. But one day, an angel showed up. The angel Gabriel, to be specific. Now, Muhammad was a little concerned. This being of light and divinity had come down to him and simply said, "Read." And Muhammad, well, he couldn't read, and he told Angel Gabriel as much. But then Gabriel hugged him and whispered into his ear, and what he whispered would become the first lines of Muhammad's first revelation. And then he disappeared. So Muhammad is left in a cave outside of his city, having just been visited by what he believes to be the angel Gabriel. So he does what any sensible man does. He goes home and asks his wife. So Khadijah, after calming him down and getting him to talk and finding out what's what, says, "Well, let's go visit my uncle. He's a brilliant man and a Christian, so probably well-versed in angels." And after telling her uncle what had happened, the uncle said, yes, you have had a divine experience. And oh, how I wish I were young, so that once you're cast out of the city, I could be there as your supporter. And Muhammad is like, whoa. They're going to cast me out? And Khadijah's uncle said, well, yes, all men who have experiences such as yourself and speak on them will be cast out. But I assure you, if I am alive when it happens, I will stand by you. You are a prophet. Unfortunately, Khadijah's uncle didn't get a chance to support Muhammad because he died the very next day. Now, this was Muhammad's first revelation. There would come a second revelation. There would come a casting out. But the moment in the mountain, the moment with the uncle, the believer, and with his wife, the faithful, is a moment that set him on the road to becoming Muhammad the Prophet as we know him today.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One
Our reading this morning is a poem adapted with inclusive language by the Sultan of Love, Jalal-ad-Din Muhammad Rumi. It is translated by Jonathan Starr and Shahram Shiva and found in A Garden Beyond Paradise, the mystical poetry of Rumi. Lovers share a sacred decree to seek the beloved. They roll head over heels, rushing toward the beautiful one like a torrent of water. In truth, everyone is a shadow of the beloved. Our seeking is her seeking. Our words are his words. At times we flow toward the beloved like a dancing stream. At times we are still water held in the pitcher of the one. At times we boil in a pot turning into vapor. That is the job of the beloved. The one breathes into my ear until my soul takes on the divine fragrance. The one is the soul of my soul. How can I escape? But why would any soul in the world want to escape from the beloved? The beloved will melt your pride, making you thin as a strand of hair. Yet do not trade even for both worlds one lock of his hair. We search for her here and there while looking right at the one, sitting by his side as we ask, "Oh, beloved, where is the beloved?" Enough with such questions. Let silence take you to the core of life. All talk is worthless when compared to one whisper of the beloved. Our prayer this Ramazan is one of the most important in Sufi and Islamic tradition, the Dua of the Nur, or the prayer of light. I invite you to connect with your breath and join me for this meditative prayer, followed by minutes of contemplative silence. You are invited to imagine light filling your being in this ancient prayer from the Islamic tradition. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of the infinitely compassionate and the tenderly merciful. O Allah, place light in my heart and light on my tongue, and in my ears light, and in my sight light, and above me light, and below me light, and to my right light, and to my left light, and before me light, and behind me light. Place in my soul light. Magnify for me light, and amplify for me light. Make for me light, and make me light. O Allah, grant me light, and place light in my nerves, and in my body light, and in my blood light, and in my hair light, and in my skin light. O Allah, make for me a light in my grave, and a light in my bones. Increase me in light, increase me in light, increase me in light. Grant me light upon light. Let us meditate now in the silence and in the light. Amen, and blessed be. Falling in love is one of the greatest experiences we can have in life. Even rarer than falling in love is finding true love, a relationship that will stand the test of time and bring dignity, meaning, and joy to our existences. When we enter into such a relationship with another person, we commonly have the experience of becoming more than we could be alone. Relationships require that we surrender some of our own needs to another. We live no longer just for ourselves, but also for another person. We make time for them and nurture the bonds of affection and care. Even if we do not fall in love with a partner, each of our lives are enriched by the bonds of love we share with others. Sometimes it may be with our parents or caregivers. Even if they've departed this life, the bond often remains. We may love our friends, our children, or even our animal companions. Each kind of healthy relationship is defined by a commitment to the other, respect, care, support, trust, honesty, openness, and joy. It is possible also to enter into such a relationship with the totality of existence itself. In many religious traditions, this is known as the path of devotion to the divine. In this spiritual path, reality itself is experienced as nothing other than as an expression of the beloved. Many years ago, I had a powerful spiritual dream that illustrated the idea that everything in existence was an expression of an all-encompassing unity. In this profound dream, I found myself to be consciousness existing in what appeared to be an infinite sea of being. Everything was in a state of equilibrium and harmony. Everything was serene and calm and perfect beyond what words can adequately describe. The infinite sea of being appeared as a field of the most gentle light. More remarkably, the light was alive. Now, I don't usually think of light as living, but in this state of consciousness, it was alive. There really wasn't a distinction between my consciousness and the light, as everything was experienced as a profound whole. Although I was having this truly sublime experience, there was no part of me that could conceptualize the experience as being an encounter with the divine or God. Such ideas as these were far too narrow to capture anything of the experience of the living light itself. In the midst of this great ocean of being, ripples began to appear in the light. Suddenly, the seamless expanse of light began to move like waters, and those waves began to coalesce into forms. The light began to take the forms of people in my life who I cared deeply about. In the Hindu tradition, there is a metaphor of an ocean of consciousness in which each of us are bubbles of consciousness, like the sea foam being carried by the waves. But eventually the bubbles return to the sea. I've always thought this imagery captured something of the experience I was having in this dream. The waves were bringing me expressions of this consciousness as each person whom I loved in my life. This was communicated to me through the sequence of experiences in this profound dream that the divine was everything in our lives that we loved, and that through loving each of these expressions of the bubbling up of the ocean of consciousness, we also love the totality of life itself. Love was the power by which each thing was bound together and to that great ocean of being itself. The totality of the essence of all that is what Sufis call our beloved. The Sufi path is the way of remembering our beloved in all things, in each person, each creature, and reality itself. It is remembering Wadat al-Wujud, or the unity of all existence. The first pillar of Islam, the profession of faith, is La ilaha illallah. This can be interpreted to mean both there is no God but God, and there is nothing outside of the divine unity. When we say there is no God but God, that means we must be mindful of not making any limited thing into an idol, whether that be our egos, our loved ones, our credit cards, a depression, an illness, a hardship. You get the idea. It's easy for us to make things our masters in life that are of little ultimate value. Instead, La ilaha illallah reminds Sufis that everything is only an expression of that infinite ocean of being. The second understanding, that there is nothing outside of the divine unity, teaches a universal embrace of all of being. The second understanding calls us to humility, remembering the specialness of everything in existence, and indeed the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So the first pillar, the central teaching of Islam, is a humble remembrance of that infinite sea of life which we are but parts. Or as Reverend Casey so beautifully put it last week, the effervescence of the divine. Namaz, or daily prayer, is the second pillar of Islamic life. Sacred teachings of the traditions record that followers of this way should approach prayer as though approaching a refreshing river that returns us to an awareness of the unity of being. The place of prayer is named after a battlefield because it is where we often have to fight to lay down our egos in service to that which is greater than ourselves. Namaz is an embodied spiritual practice that is a bit different from prayer in many of the traditions that are more common to our liberal religious spaces. In my Sufi community, we call it our Sufi yoga, because it's literally a series of yoga poses which, with specific praises and salutations and requests that are interspersed with movements through the various poses. The purpose of prayer is to create a time and space in regular intervals each day to surrender ourselves to the totality of being and thereby bring our lives into greater harmony with all of existence. The third pillar of Islam is zakat, or the giving to charity. We remember that we are part of something larger than ourselves, and we cultivate love for the entirety of our being. If we do those things, then we should naturally want to give of what we possess to help others. Zakat literally means that which purifies. The charity offering is usually a minimum of 2.5% of one's total wealth given away each year for those who can afford it. Often, this money is given away during the month of Ramadan. This purifying pillar of charity is especially meant to serve those who are poor and oppressed, those freed from slavery, those in debt, and others in financial need. It is often given to the local mosque or collected as a tax by the state to serve those in need. Freely given of accumulated wealth to others is an aspect of virtually every spiritual tradition, including our own. It is another practice that reminds us that we live for more than just ourselves. The fourth pillar of Islam is the observance of Ramadan, the Queen of Months. It is considered to be the holiest of the lunar months for Muslims. It is a time of fasting, increased prayer, attentive scriptural study, and supporting community. The fast includes abstaining from food and water during the daylight hours each day. It is believed that this fast has spiritual, mental, and physical benefits. I utilize the fast as a spiritual check-in each year, a whole month to practice rigorous spiritual discipline, take inventory of my life, and catalyze changes to help me live more lovingly and compassionately in the world. The fast is also meant to remind us of what it is like to be hungry and thirsty, to identify with those who are living without food security or clean drinking water. In addition to the rigors of fasting and better observance of the daily prayers, I'm also reading a portion of the Quran each day, with the goal of having read the entire text by the end of the month. All of these practices help to induce a special clarity in one's consciousness that fills one with a lightness and a spaciousness that is restorative and healing. The last pillar of Islam is to make a pilgrimage to the temple dedicated to oneness, the Kaaba in Mecca. Islamic tradition holds that this is the earliest temple to Allah Azza wa Jal, where the angels gathered for worship. If the first pillar, La ilaha illallah, is intended as a spiritual practice to infuse every moment of life, and the second pillar, prayer, is a daily spiritual practice, and the third and fourth, Ramadan and Zakat, are annual spiritual practices, this is the once-in-a-lifetime spiritual practice. Prayers are offered facing this black cubic stone sanctuary, and the pilgrimage invites the followers of the path to approach this most sacred place and to engage in ancient spiritual rites, many of which likely predate Islam itself. The 20th century Sri Lankan Sufi saint Baba Muhyiddin, may mercy and blessings abide with him always, taught that just as all Muslims face the physical Kaaba in prayer and journey toward it on pilgrimage, the metaphysical Kaaba is found within the qalb, or the heart of each believer. He explains, "Within you there is a house just for God. That is the Kaaba, that is paradise. All the prophets, all the good ones from this world and the world of souls are there within it. That is where you must pray. The Kaaba of the outside was built out of stone, but this inner Kaaba, the heart, has been built out of light, and nothing can consume it." Spiritual exercises of the Sufi path are the means by which followers of this way draw near to the Beloved. They are the ways by which each strives to stay connected to the infinite ocean of love and compassion and offer its refreshing waters to all those who thirst. It is a time when we magnify the light within and share it with the world. May you find a deeper appreciation for this wisdom of the world's religious traditions and discover some of the sacredness of this Queen of Months. Amen, and blessed be, and Ramazan Mubarak.
We are continuing to raise funds for the UUA COVID-19 Fund. The impact of this pandemic is widespread, and some congregations are going to be hit much harder than others. And so your gifts to this fund, our gifts to this fund, will enable our UU Faith community to help those who are in great need. So there are 3 ways to give. You can give by text, you can give on the website, or you can mail a check. If you're giving by text on your smartphone, text the number that you see on the screen, 844-982-0209. Indicate the amount you'd like to donate, and then put a code so we know which fund the money should go to. Use GCC for generous contribution. Use PLG for your pledge contribution, and use IDC for contributions that are not pledges to go someplace else. The first time you give, you'll be asked to register, and after that it'll be much easier, much faster. You can donate on our website. You can make a one-time donation or an ongoing donation, and of course you can mail an old-fashioned check to the church office. However you give, we appreciate your gifts.
Immortal love, forever full, forever flowing free, forever shed, forever whole, a never-ending sea. Our outward lips confess the name, all other names above, but love alone knows whence it came and comprehendeth love. Blow winds of love, awake and blow the mists of hate away. Sing out, O truth divine, and tell how wide and far we stray. The letter fails, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The Spirit overseeing all, eternal love remains.
Let us leave our time together this morning with the words of the founder of my own ancient Sufi order, Moinuddin Chisti. May mercy and blessings abide with him always. Love all and hate none. Mere talk of peace will avail you not. Mere talk of the infinitely compassionate one and religion will not take you far. Bring out all the latent powers of your being and reveal the full magnificence of your immortal self. Be overflowing with peace and joy, and scatter them wherever you are and wherever you go. Be a blazing fire of truth. Be a beauteous blossom of love. Be a soothing balm of peace. With your spiritual light, illumine the waves of ignorance, dissolve the clouds of discord and war, and spread goodwill, peace, and harmony among all people. Never seek help, charity, or favors from anyone except the beloved. Never go to the court of kings, but never refuse to bless and help the needy and the poor, the widow and the orphan if they come to your door. This is your mission, to serve the people. Amen, and blessed be, and Ramazan Mubarak.